Hello, dear and beloved science students. It is your favorite sixth grade science teacher, Mr. Heckenlively, coming to you on Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, of the lockdown. So, we are in the last week of school. You guys have been doing so well with actually doing your assignments under very challenging conditions. So, I really want to just applaud you. So, the assignment that I gave you last week, which had a couple extra days to do, was called A Window into a Tree's World. So let me read the first couple paragraphs and get you situated on it. So, research background. According to National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, and the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the years 2015-2018 were the warmest recorded on Earth in modern times, and it is only expected to get warmer. Temperatures in the northeastern U.S. are projected to increase 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit by 2035. Every year the weather is a bit different, and in some years there are more extremes with very hot or cold temperatures. Climate gives us a long-term perspective and is the average weather, including temperature and precipitation, over at least 30 years. Over thousands of years, tree species living in each part of the world have adapted to their local climate. Trees play an important role in climate change by helping cool the planet. Through photosynthesis, they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and evaporate water into the air. Scientists are very interested in learning how trees respond to rapidly warming temperatures. Luckily, trees offer us a window into their lives through their growth rings. Growth rings are found within the trunk, beneath the bark. Each year of growth has two parts that can be seen: a light ring of large cells with thin walls, which grows in the spring, and a dark layer of smaller cells with thick walls that form later in the summer and fall. Ring thickness is used to study how much the tree has grown over the years. Dendrochronology is the use of these rings to study trees and their environment. Okay, so when I first read this, I was a little bit concerned because I was saying, no, don't cut down the trees. And I found that what they were able to do was simply bore into the trees and take a sample out, so they didn't really have to destroy the tree. And what the scientists Jesse and Neil had done was they had looked at old pine trees in Mongolia, so they had some data, and then they wanted to compare that to another tree in the eastern United States. So you understand the question is, how do warming temperatures affect tree growth? Okay, so that's just kind of the setup you should have in your mind, the analytical structure. Okay, next would be the hypothesis. And remember, hypotheses do not have to be correct. They just give you a testable question. So you make a prediction. So I think it would be something like, I claim warming temperatures will cause increased tree growth. Okay, that's a really good one. Data, I have a couple criticisms about it. Okay, so then you're simply supposed to look here at the tree rings, kind of figure out where you think it is thickest and thinnest. And then one of the things that really, I have to say, confused me. So I'm just going to tell you about my confusion, but I'm going to suggest a possible answer. I really don't understand how they came up with that tree growth index. I'm not sure what it means, okay? I was looking for something like, the amount of thickness of the rings, but they didn't have that, okay? So I think that's really confusing, okay? So I've got what I think is a better answer. So what I did was I looked at where there was the highest and lowest temperature during the January to April time frame, okay? And then I looked at the tree growth, okay, at what their index was. And, it seems pretty clear that when it's warmer, you have more tree growth. When it's colder, you have less tree growth, okay? So to me, that seems kind of simple, all right? I think it gets a little bit better on this next page because you've got a graph. And so you've got the independent variable would be the temperature. The dependent variable would be the growth of the tree rings. And so then when you look at this graph, it becomes a little bit more clear, because you can see that sometimes there is, you know, it seems to go along pretty well with when there are higher temperatures, there is more tree growth. Now, it's not always true. So one of the things that I would say is maybe there are some confounding variables. So if it's hot, that's one thing, and that's good for tree growth. But what if in those hot years you didn't get much rainfall? Okay, so maybe there isn't enough water in the environment for the trees to experience that rapid growth. Okay, so then you come to the next part, which is making a claim, evaluating it. I would say, I think the graph is the best way to get your data. Remember, we always want to have data, data, data. I always want numbers. Give me numbers, numbers, numbers. Okay, so you got that. Then the last one, your next steps as a scientist. You know, I gave you one example of something you might put there. You might say, I'm curious as to whether in some of those hot years where there wasn't much tree growth, maybe there wasn't as much rainfall. And so maybe that would be something that you would look at next. Okay, so there's how you do it. There are my criticisms of how they put it together, because I always think that you should have that part of your mind which is saying, hey, did they really do a good job at this? Okay, and so for today, I am sending you on a virtual field trip. Okay, so there will be a form inside of Google Classroom, and it has your Google field trip form. And you know, it's kind of fun. You can go to different museums, and you know, I know everybody's stuck in the lockdown, and you're probably going stir crazy. So just kind of have fun with it. You guys have been great. It's been a wonderful year, even with the lockdown. I'm very proud of how everybody has really stepped up. I just have to say that I don't think I have a single student who I believe was not trying his or her best. That matters to me, and hopefully what I have done is I've created an environment in which you feel safe to try, because I think that it is your effort which ultimately determines your success. So I think our job as teachers is to make sure that you feel you're in a safe environment and you can try and you can feel comfortable failing, because you'll know that you'll get opportunities to succeed. So to me, there is absolutely no failure if you are trying. I hope that that is a concept that I have given you this year. All right, I'll talk to you one final time on Friday, and I look forward to seeing all of you next year.